Little update on this today. So if you've had a KD or a KE, I don't know if the KEs are like this, but the KD, I have broke so many of these couplings here where the cable slides in. I'll pull it out. The cable slides into the splitter. I have broke so many. Now I can usually just tape them up and they work, but it seems to be a huge weak point of these cables, to the point where they sell them online for just a couple dollars less than a normal cable, a non-broken one. So I did some prototyping, came up with the idea of to make something that slips on here, which you can see the black one is. It basically just slips on and is there to provide a little bit more support for this, in hopes that it won't break. Not that the breaking causes issues with function. I think it could if you were on the trail and it kept getting hung up outside of the splitter. But anyways, that's an update on the KD. So a couple things I've done. Went ahead and put the new throttle cable on. Got the fancy heat shroud thing on there. Got it routed a little bit better. It still sticks, but it's in the hand grip, so I'm hoping that's going to be where it wears in, because I lubed the cable with that Motion Pro block thing, and it works really good. The front brake works really good now. I lubed that. I still need to work on the front axle a little bit. What else do we have here? So I've developed a terrible fuel leak over on the left-hand side of the bike. Just absolutely just dumps gas. I don't know that it would last an hour, so I'm going to have to rip some paint off and figure out what I'm going to do there. I have an oil leak down here, although minor. I think it's this hose is leaking. You can kind of see yeah. If I run my finger across it, I can see a little oil seepage come out. You probably can't see my fingernail there. So I'm going to put another zip tie on this and hope that helps. Let's see, what else do we got? Oh, I ran it today, got it nice and warm. I couldn't get the compression gauge over 60 psi, so that tells me there is a big issue there. I just noticed this gasket's hanging out here. That's probably not going to seal if I go through water, but hopefully I won't be going in water, or it won't be raining. Otherwise it'll pool some water in here. Next problem, I'm dumping gas out of here pretty bad. I'm going to look at seeing if I can find a banjo bolt and a nut to run the line up so I can see actually where my float level's at. Still don't know which carb is which. This is the other carb I have. So that's kind of where we're at. So the KD has developed a pretty nasty leak down here. Actually up in this corner, you can see the paint has actually peeled back. Not good if I want to race it, because it's pretty much dumping gas. Also the petcock leaks. I bought new O-rings for that, so I'm going to take care of that here soon. But I kind of need a fuel tank to run. So with that being said, I bought a second one off eBay. Now I kind of took a chance with this one. The bottom looks pretty good. I can see where someone's welded, and I think someone, if you look on the inside, they cut out a hole and then they welded in a piece of round sheet metal. So I'm going to bust all this Bondo off, because there is a lot. And it was actually, going back, it was actually just listed as KE. That was it. No years. But I kind of recognized the tank and this AMC Big Bad Green. That only came on KDs and KD175s and 125s. I think the KD80s had it as well. But smaller bikes use the round style pipe thread petcock. And then the 125s and 175s use this style screw in, which is the same as a KLR 250, by the way. You can kind of see where someone has patched it right here and here. So what I'm going to work on, like I just said, I'm going to bust the Bondo out of this, because it is on both sides quite a bit. I'll show you the inside. So the inside is actually fairly good. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you down in there too much with how this camera is set up with the lens. But you can kind of see it's fairly clean. It doesn't actually look that bad in there. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to seal the inside with red coat. That way I don't have to worry about leaks, and hopefully next weekend I get a coat of primer on it and possibly some of the Big Bad Green I got left over. I did buy decals for the sides, but those will not get put on before the race because that whole process took me a couple weeks to get that all set up, because you have to let it dry a week for some reason with the stickers on there. They're water. The ones I put on the KD now they were water transfers. So the only reason I'm going this extra step, especially 3 weeks before the race, is because I don't know if I can repair the tank I have. I don't know what I'm going to get into. I don't know where it's leaking. It didn't leak before. Now all of a sudden it's leaking. So what's going on? If I can get the other one red coated later this week, I plan to strip the red coat out of here. You just put acetone in. It only takes a day or two, and it'll strip it all out. And then I'm going to go ahead and grind this, buff it back, grind it, or something, and figure out where I'm actually leaking at. I may be leaking higher up here as well, which kind of worries me. And at least try to get some of these spots taken care of. I'll take them up. It's because I can use low heat, and then I'll have to feather the paint back, but hopefully I can use this tank. But I didn't know what I'd be getting into when I get there. With that being said, I was supposed to have all the parts this weekend to do the top end swap with the other cylinder. I got it painted, it's ready to go. I need to get this top end off, and then it should be good to go at that. I went back and hit this heat shield with some fresh paint. I kind of messed up here. You can kind of see where it's rusty up there, but it makes it look a little bit better since the pipe was painted kind of decent. I worked on earlier, I got a tool so we can check the float level, because it is leaking a bit more gas than I would like in here, so I'll have to go back and check that. That's another weekend issue. And the front axle, I wanted to try to fix the issues with the threads. I can run it right now. I'll run the race with it if I have to. Just some of the minor stuff coming up, me trying to take care of prior to the race. I need to fix the throttle adjuster because my throttle cable's way too long and it's out of threads, and I don't want to have that throttle cable roll the opposite way and get kinked. That's the other one had that kink, and it also had the kink in the handlebars. So a lot to do. I'm hoping next weekend I get 90% of this knocked out, and I'll feel a lot better if it runs better, because 60 psi is not getting me anywhere. Again, I could ride the trials bike, which I will have a video up on about here shortly, but I don't really want to run that unless I absolutely have to. I'm confident on it. I definitely need to practice. Everybody needs to practice all the time. But I don't want to run it. I want to run this. I've put a lot of time and effort into it. So hopefully Monday or Tuesday I can get around to doing this. It's kind of annoying. Head gasket was supposed to be here, but it was supposed to be here this previous Thursday. Today's Sunday. For some reason it got to the next biggest town, which then ships to my local post office and then delivers to me. But it turned around and went to California, which is on, I don't know why. Needle bearings, the small end bearing was supposed to be here Saturday. It did not come in, so it's Monday. My stuff from Rocky Mountain ATV was supposed to be here Friday and Saturday. It did not come in. So I've just been kind of waiting on parts, and that's where we're at. So I've done what I can. I flex honed the cylinder, but there is some scoring, not as bad as this one. So I'm kind of curious to see where the piston rings actually stop and see if I actually need to worry about it. My other worry is honing it out too far, that the standard rings on the standard cylinder no longer work, and I have to go up to 10, because at this point I would just rebore that cylinder I have and then just call that a day, and then have a nice fresh bore instead of trying to use what I have. And that's really the only reason I went with this setup, is because I was trying to use what I had instead of having to invest more and more and more money onto this thing, because it's a money pit. So while I let the air compressor catch up, there were some pretty big dents in this bad boy. There's one up here, of course the big one there, little one there. I kind of starting some over here. This side isn't too bad. There's one down here. I kind of been going over it, cleaning it up a little bit. I got most of the Bondo knocked down. So I'll try to work some of these out a little bit, because that's too deep. That's 3/8 of an inch. You're only supposed to skim it with an 1/8, so I'm going to try to work this out a little bit tomorrow. I don't know if I'll stud gun it or what, but we can get it a little bit closer, I think, personally. So it's not too bad. It's not as bad as I thought, to be honest. It could have been way worse. So I went ahead and using my stud gun to pull up, I can feel one right there, most of the big dents. I got this one kind of pulled up a lot closer. It's still kind of rough, but it's close enough that I feel safer running with filler on it. 1/8 inch is about what you're limited to, and I might be right at the edge of that. I was gonna do this video and buff these tabs off, but I ran into a little problem. I was gonna line it tonight, but I found some pinholes. Let me see if I can turn off the lights and do it. I don't know that this is gonna pick it up, but there's a couple right on this right side of the top. You see it right there. There's one. Let's see. There's another one I just saw. There's a couple more. There's the petcock. So I got a couple on this side that I can see. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm just going to JB weld this, put a nice sealant of that on here, and then I'll have to coat it tomorrow. I think those are the only ones. I was going to TIG it, but if you have ever chased your tail of trying to do thin sheet metal, very thin rusted out sheet metal, you will know that it is a utter nightmare. And so I'm not going to chance it, and I'm just going to JB weld it, and then hopefully the sealer will seal over it. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then we'll be back to it tomorrow. So you got the new top end on. It's got a bit more pressure under it, so that's good. You could see visibly the rings were they were really hanging out on that other piston. So I don't think we all know that I wasn't getting the compression I needed. I went ahead and tried safety wiring down here to keep this oil from leaking. I put the leaky tank back on because, as you've seen just a bit ago, I'm having issues. Now I got to go back and do some more work on the tank, but I'll talk about that here in a bit. I had 5/16 studs on here. I had to find some 8mm hardware to put that on. What else can we talk about? So my next quarry on this thing is I'm going to reset my air screw back to where it should be, because I'd kind of messed with it when I was riding it, thinking that was causing issues, and I don't want to lean this out or run it too rich, obviously. But it kind of seemed a little bit wetter than it should have in here with fuel. Now, I wanted to check the float level because I wasn't sure about this one. You could still get floats. They are hard to come by, much like a lot of parts on this bike, but you can. And Kawasaki had this special tool, basically a banjo bolt that screwed in there, and then you just use a loop of hose to kind of see where it's at. And it should be 2.5 to 4.5 millimeters below the bottom of that. So what I did was I went to Amazon and bought some hardware. First I kind of measured the length and thought, well, I can get close and see how it fit, but it's got a long length to get in there to some threads. Plus then you're adding in a banjo fitting and crush washers, and you end up with a really tall stack up. So I could catch threads with this, with this length of bolt, but I couldn't actually catch. I think I could catch threads, get one crush washer and the banjo bolts in there. So my first thought was, I'll mill this down, because I got a lot of meat in there. I can mill that down quite a bit. I could take it about halfway down, and that would be probably the thickness of a banjo or a crush washer. Instead, I went to the lathe and just took my part off tool and ran it in till about flush, or actually where it is flush with the bolt, to give me a little extra length. Now I can't really put much torque on it, but I shouldn't be putting torque on it because it's a carburetor. So let me get this set up with some hose, and we will try to see if we can figure out what our float level is, if I'm correct. I don't think I've ever adjusted it. I may have at some point in time. I've had this bike, oh gosh, I think I got it 2007, 2006. It was probably 2007 when I got this bike. So I've had it for a long time. 13 years? No, it's longer than that. That'd be 2020. 17 years? I don't know. I guess we're 3 years short of 20 years, so that would be 17 years. So I've had this bike quite a while. And you know how it is when you're young. You don't remember everything you do. So let's see if we can get this this out of here, and I'll get some hose and we'll see where we're at. So kind of as I suspected here, I got it held in with the exhaust up here, but my float level is set just a hair high. You can kind of see it bouncing around there, and that kind of explains why the whole inside here was wet. Now the stuff you see in there, that water, I had to spit on the hose to kind of get it to go in there, but you can see my float level is a little too high, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. Well, after some finagling here, it looks like I've gotten it pretty close. It's no longer dumping gas out. As you move it up, you can see it wants to stay where it wants to stay. I think I got it, so we'll run with it. I'm going to put this all back together, and then hopefully we can fire it up here in a second. Alright, so got the air screw turned back out, 1 1/4 turns as per the manual. Float is set. I'm going to spray this out with some brake clean, get that oil out, see if we're still leaking oil. And I'm going to go fire this thing up on its new rings, and I'll run it for a bit, see what happens. Come back and talk about it. I'm going to have to do a couple of heat cycles, retorque the heads eventually, and then I'll probably go start working on the other tank. So as the countdown begins, I lined the tank. I don't know if in the last video I talked about, I had JB welded this, so I buffed that all out and I soldered it with some plumbing solder. It actually holds up. There is no leaks from that. I'm going to put a coat of JB weld over the top of this tonight, because I don't want the solder to vibrate loose, as you know, 2-strokes vibrate quite a bit. I have a little bit of red coat to clean up on the outside. I'm going to try to paint this, or at least prime it later this week, so I can get it in green by the weekend. Because it's Sunday, Sunday afternoon. I got 2 weeks. Actually, it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, I will be racing this. I'll actually be done with the race because it'll have happened earlier. I went ahead, found a washer for back here to space this out. Something isn't quite right with this, but I got slack. I don't know if that's enough or not. It hopefully will be. The tire, of course, does rub like every other tire I put on my bikes. It is actually fairly centered up in there. It's running true, so that's good. Had an issue with the brake sticking earlier, so I don't remember why I had that nut on there. I kind of wonder if that's why. So I tightened that up. Brakes were there were not much brakes on the rear. I do have a bigger sprocket for the rear. I think this is a actually I don't. I have another 50. This is a 50, so someone else has already swapped this, so I won't be doing that. I went ahead and got the kill switch working. You can't see that. You probably saw that cat walk by though, over to the left. So kill switch works, so I'll have a working kill switch. I've been doing heat cycles, starting it up, letting it run for a little bit, and then shutting it down. I've done 2 or 3 of those, and then today I kind of took it out for 15 minutes and rode it. It has decent power. It's better, more power than what I had, but not what I was quite expecting. Granted, I'm used to the Trials bike. The Trials bike is not snappy. This is, boy, you get it in the top end, and once it's revved up, it really goes. Had a bug crawling on me. So what do I got left? I'm going to do an oil change. While I'm doing that oil change, I'm going to pull this side cover and try to get this gasket to go down. I don't like that I mean, I could goop it. I just don't like the fact that this gasket isn't where it needs to be. I don't know, maybe I'll just put a little RTV on top of here. Really, I just don't want water to get in here. I may actually just RTV it. I'll do an oil change and then RTV this. I'm pretty positive I have spares. If not, I can get one. Then I need to put a cover on here. Everything looks like it's adjusted correctly. Everything's running pretty good. I might need to do some carb tuning. Need to get the idle sorted. I don't know what the idle's at, but I can pull the stator cover, put my tack on it, and kind of see and adjust from there. I may do that next weekend. That's really about where I'm at on this. Is that rubber? Huh. Okay. That's really where I'm at on this. I've already retorqued the heads. I might do that again next weekend after I get another heat cycle or two under it. Tightened up the exhausts. I mean, it runs really good. Front brake works really good, which is what you need when you're going downhill. I bought some more of these straps that they have. They still make them, so I bought a new one, so I'll replace this when I get the time. I really need to put a new rubber gasket in here because, well, this isn't going to really stop any moisture coming through if it is wet. And I don't have the pump to clear this out, so I have to be a little bit more cautious of that nowadays. There's some stuff I wish I could do to it, but I can't due to lack of time. So I may just start the oil change, put a little RTV on this, and kind of call it a day. Next time post race, I'll probably go ahead and do another oil change, and then replace this gasket, so that way I don't have to worry about that. Other than that, I think we're ready to go. I think everything's pretty snug, and it's just down to getting the fuel leaks fixed, and we can run. The throttle cable still sticks. So because my cables, I shortened the handlebars. I got some aluminum ones. The original ones were like 32 inches wide, which is insane. Because on the trials bike, I clipped trees trying to go through trees during the race. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to get stuck into a tree. So I got shorter handlebars. With that being said, the cable is now too long. And I don't really want to go around dinking with it right before the race and end up screwing it up and not being able to race because I ruined an $80 cable. Yes, you heard me right. That is an $80 cable. They used to be very cheap, but they are now very expensive. Hence why I've taken the time to do that 3D printed mod to it and then get new shielding. So, with all that being said, I need to fix this. So what I'm going to do is I bought some 10mm hex stock, and I'm just going to make a longer one for now. It'll look stupid, but if it gets me through that hour race, boy howdy, I will be happy. And then we will worry about shortening the cable post-race. That's really about all I have left. Bike runs, just topping off fluids, lubing everything up, and then calling it a day and seeing how it works. So a little update here, the spare tank. I got that rod in there for holding it. I silver soldered, and then I JB welded over it. It's red coated inside. You might not be able to see that in the light, but it's red coated in there. I started with some filler work on it. So I started on some filler work with it. I still have a little bit of ways to go, but I just wanted to really get it started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with some primer, and then I had bought some more paint I have to go pick up tomorrow because I bought a pint. I might have enough to do both of these tanks, but I'm not sure, and I'd rather be safe. So I came up with a little design of the measurements, plus then I added some length to it because I believe it's 1.5, so I had about a 1/4 inch. Maybe it's just under 1.5 inches. Anyways, I bought some 10mm hex stock. I turned it down. I bought some end mills, used those to run it in on the tailstock. Get that there. I drilled a 1/8 inch hole through all of it, and I kind of put a little too much of a chamfer on the end here. I was trying to work kind of hurriedly, and so that's what we kind of ended up with. I bought a 8mm nut for it, but this is 8 by 1 M8 by 1.25, and I'm beginning to wonder if that may be fine thread. I haven't got to this point yet. I've been dealing with some other stuff on the bike, so just little updates. So I got the tank primed. This is the second one I bought. It does look pretty. You can definitely see there's some warps in it. This is probably going to be race tank, or the spare tank. So I'm going to have to use this tank to test run the bike today, because the other one I tigged up the hole, and then I silver soldered what little holes I couldn't get with the TIG, and then coated it with JB Weld to kind of seal it. I need to do the cable adjuster today, set the clutch up, and set idle speed. So that's going to be my plans for today. So this will probably be towards the end of the videos on this thing for now, till after the race. So here soon I will be wrapping this up. Got the primer tank on it. Sorry for the background noise, the AC is running. I've been taking it out, put this side cover on, but the problem I ran into with the side cover on, it all of a sudden started running like a dog. First, second gear okay, third gear it just kind of no power, just flat out, just blah. There was wide open throttle, just blah. Kind of like how I had with the old rings. So I thought, okay, this ain't good. It's kind of nerve-wracking. We just went from some decent power to no power. So I took the side cover back off, which, by the way, the gasket slips up into the rubber piece that sits in here, this block, it slips in there, and that kind of helps hold it. So if you're redoing yours, that's how it goes. There's slits in there, slides up in. It helps hold it, so when you put this cover on, because you're fighting the brake pedal and this, and trying to get that gasket that's all flippy floppy around. Anyways, back to my little story here. So I took this cover off, ran it. Thing runs wide open, beautiful, power for days. Okay, so then I thought, well, maybe it's the fuel line's getting pinched under here, because it was kind of tight putting it on, but I think it was the gasket I'm squishing. So I zip tied it on the back side of that breather line. Still didn't. Put the cover back on, still didn't help. Okay, so I took the air filter out and the top off. Bike ran great. Okay, put the air filter in, a little bit of loss of power, but it still runs really good. We have to have an air filter. For some reason, this cover is not allowing enough air for me to get any power after third gear. It just kind of dogs out. I'm not running an air filter in here, and it's still just doggy. So I'm going to take this off and go back to the system my grandpa had, which was a little piece of wire holding this down. I don't know what else to say about it, because it's not getting enough air. So, and I kind of need that to race. Hopefully it's not super wet, but hopefully I don't have to go through a ton of deep water. Granted, it is up under the seat, so it is pulling pretty high. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I guess I could also finish out this video by saying I got the adjuster on. No more cable movement. This is still tight. I tried to emery cloth it a little bit, but it still hangs up, so I'm going to just fight that during the race. I'm thinking about making a GoPro mount that sits here where the speedo and tack would go, and try to have that sitting up here so everybody gets a better right over the fender view, and then I don't have to deal with this on the handlebar. I'm already hitting the turn signal or the mirror thing, thinking that's the kill switch when I'm riding, or well, when I'm pulling in not paying attention. So I might grind that down after the race, so I at least just slide over and hit it. Anyways, I'm going to try to clean the air filter, put it all back together, and get some wire. I'm going to end the video here. I need to put the clutch cover back on, or the clutch mechanism cover on. Just kind of out riding it around, testing it out. I was real worried if it would have enough power to get up the incline like they had last year, because I believe that's going to be the same thing again this year. So I was just out putting around on these deep ditches that I like to ride the trials bike on to see if it'll actually do it, and it will. And I cut in a little too close at one spot. It was very deep, steep. So hopefully the bike will make it, and hopefully everything will work out. It just doused a bunch of gas on me doing the ride. So I'm gonna definitely put on the new fuel cap I have for the other tank, and we'll kind of see how it goes. Thanks for watching. If you see me there, I'll have the green tank on it, hopefully the actual Kawasaki labeled one. And thanks for watching. Say hi if you see me. Flip me off, I don't care. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. There will definitely be more videos of this bike here soon, and I do have another project coming up. Well, quite a few. Thanks for watching.